Hi guys, it's Friday morning. The koi have just been fed and the temperature in the pond right now is 19 degrees. It's Friday, October 27th. The temperature outside currently is 20 degrees. According to the radio, we're gonna have a guaranteed high of 23 degrees today. And according to them, that'd be a record high ever for this date, October 27th. So as you can see, it's not always cold here in Canada. Well, this part of Canada anyways. In the last 2 weeks, over the years, in the last 2 weeks of October, I've had recorded a high of 26 before in the past. And we don't really get into the minus degrees until the month of December. I do remember one day in November, I know it was November because I recorded it, and it was 2019, and I rode my bike to work. It was raining, it was warm, and I got all soaked. I don't know why I didn't expect that, but after doing a night shift, 12 hours later, on my way home the next morning, we had a flash freeze. It was -5 degrees, and it was snowing. The sidewalks were frozen, and I had to bike home with the same wet gear I had the day before, and I wasn't wearing any gloves, so that was quite an experience. I don't know about you, but in the past, I don't usually pay attention too much on the weather as much as I do since I started keeping koi. I don't know, maybe because I do need to track when to close the pond and how the koi reacts to the weather patterns. But lately it's becoming to be a third hobby of mine, which is like keeping track of the weather, and I've had many recordings over the years, so you can call me the weatherman now. Anyways, today what inspired me to do this video is that over the last few days since closing the pond and putting a cover on it, I noticed something different this year in the way I've covered the pond. And it's actually really sealed, which is kind of cool. See, there's the pond here, and that's my cover. Do you see anything unusual? Likely not, but I'll show you. See how my pond cover is bubbling? It's almost like those tennis courts in the winter where they fill them up with like air cover, and you can play inside. See how it bubbles? That only means one thing, is that the air that's going through my vent here is not escaping anywhere, only through like a little tiny hole, and it's causing that bubbling effect. I've never had that before. And even the other day when it was raining, the raindrops would just like roll out of this cover. I thought the rain would accumulate in a little sag. I noticed that the pond was not sealed earlier when I see some mice that's running around in my inside the cover. So I looked all the way around my pond, and I couldn't find any holes that the mice may have made. So I looked all over, and I'll show you how sealed it is, because this year I put those gardening rails, or whatever they're called, all around the pond, and tucked in the plastic underneath there. I usually tuck I've usually been tucking in the plastic inside the ground, but maybe that plastic rails that I put all the way around help. But I noticed one thing. It's just this area here. I think there was a hole there where the mice may have been burrowing through. So I filled that with soil. And also I've also put like 2 or 3 extra layers of plastic in the corners of my pond cover this year. So see how that's bubbling out? I thought it was just the air, how windy it is. The wind is getting through the edges somewhere and making that bubble. But I'll show you, if I open my feeding hole, that bubbling effect will disappear. Hang on, okay? This is my feeding hole right here. I'll just open it, and you'll see, I'll open this, and you'll see that the bubbling effect will disappear. You see that? I'll close it again. And it'll reappear. That's kind of cool, isn't it? So the pond is really sealed. I've never thought I can actually seal this pond, because I always thought maybe there's like air coming out from little holes around the pond somewhere that you can't really totally seal it. The only hole I have left is this water drain hole. So when it rains, the water wouldn't sag, and it's a hole there somewhere between the 2 tapes, and that's about it that I've created for air to escape. See, the water will start dripping into the hole now because the water is heavier. There you go. So anyways, that's kind of cool. Anyways, today it's fairly warm. It's 20 degrees. It's gonna go higher, so I'm gonna open this pond cover a little bit so at least the koi can have a glimpse of what's going on outside, and maybe watch the leaves and watch the wind and watch the sky, whatever they fancy. What's also gonna be cool now that it's sealed, in the winter when it's really cold outside, like minus whatever, I bet you through that hole that I just showed you, there'll be like steam coming out, and maybe sometime in the winter time I actually can make a little chimney from that hole, and you can see the chimney effect, like smoke coming out of that chimney from the warm air meeting the cold air outside. I think that would be cool. So open the pond up, give the fish a bit of outside view. My wife suggested this earlier. She always looks out for my koi. Sometimes I even forget to feed them, and then she reminds me or criticizes me. She even says, like when I mentioned how sealed the pond is, she even said, like, don't they need like air to go into the pond? I said, no, maybe just the little hole here will do. But anyway, just to show how keen she is in helping me try to look out for my koi. It was the wife's idea to to open the pond today. I'll just have to scoop some of leaves that fall into my pond later. And tomorrow it won't be this warm. We're back to seasonal weather. All right, take care everybody. Have a great weekend.